You have two lives, the one you're actually living, and the one you keep telling yourself you'll start tomorrow. Most people waste decades in that gap. Welcome to the modern sages. Ancient wisdom, modern application. Today, how a Roman emperor used his own death to stop procrastinating, why modern neuroscience confirms he was right, and your 2-minute practice to reclaim today. Picture this. It's 170 AD. The most powerful man on earth sits alone in his tent, surrounded by the chaos of war. Outside, soldiers are dying from plague. Barbarian tribes press at the empire's borders. Inside, Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor, philosopher, and chronic overthinker, picks up his stylus. He's not writing battle plans or political decrees. He's writing to himself about death. You could leave life right now, he scratches onto papyrus. Let that determine what you do and say and think. This wasn't morbid self-torture. This was the most effective productivity hack he knew. Marcus had discovered what he called living with urgency, the art of treating each day as if it might be your last. Not because he was depressed, but because he was tired of wasting time. See, Marcus had a problem we'd recognize today. Despite having unlimited power, he constantly delayed the things that mattered. He'd put off writing, postpone difficult conversations, delay acts of kindness. Sound familiar? The man who could command legions couldn't command his own attention. But Marcus wasn't alone in this struggle. Across the empire, another philosopher named Seneca had developed his own version of the same technique. Every single night, Seneca would lie in bed and imagine he was about to die. Then he'd review his entire day as if it were his last. The next morning, Seneca would wake up and treat the new day as bonus time, borrowed time, gift time. And here's what happened. He stopped procrastinating almost entirely. When you truly believe today might be your last, checking your messages for the 15th time suddenly seems ridiculous. This wasn't about becoming obsessed with death. It was about becoming obsessed with life. The Stoics called it Memento mori. Remember, you will die. But they used it as fuel, not fear. Marcus wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." He realized he was living for some imaginary future version of himself, while the real version, the only version that actually existed, was wasting away. Think about your own life for a moment. How much of your mental energy goes toward someday thinking? Someday I'll write that book. Someday I'll have that difficult conversation. Someday I'll pursue that dream. Meanwhile, the only day you actually have control over, today, gets treated like a rehearsal. The Stoics understood something profound. You don't have two lives. You have one. And every day you spend preparing to live is a day you're not actually living. But here's where it gets interesting. Marcus didn't just think about death randomly. He had a system. Every evening, he'd perform what modern Stoics call the two lives review. He'd ask himself, if I had lived two lives, one where I wasted today and one where I used it fully, which one did I actually choose? The results were immediate. When you realize that postponing is just a fancy word for never, your priorities become crystal clear. Marcus started focusing on what he called essential action, doing fewer things, but doing them with complete presence. Seneca noticed the same shift. He wrote, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." Each morning became a new beginning, because he'd properly ended the previous day. No loose threads. No unfinished emotional business. No, I'll deal with that tomorrow. This created what modern psychologists call a completion loop. Your brain stops carrying forward anxiety about unfinished tasks because you're actually finishing them. But the most powerful part wasn't the productivity boost. It was the clarity. When you stop living in the gap between current you and future you, something magical happens. You start making decisions based on who you are right now, not who you hope to become. Marcus wrote about a soldier who kept putting off writing to his family because he wanted the letter to be perfect. The man died in battle with the letter unwritten. Perfection, Marcus realized, is often just procrastination wearing a disguise. The emperor started applying this everywhere. Difficult conversations with senators? Have them today. Acts of generosity? Do them now. Creative projects? Start them immediately, even imperfectly. Here's what modern neuroscience tells us Marcus got exactly right. Your brain literally cannot distinguish between a vivid, imagined experience and a real one. When Seneca imagined dying each night, his brain experienced the emotional reality of mortality. This triggered what researchers call temporal urgency, your brain's alarm system for limited time. Dr. Hal Hirschfield at UCLA has studied this exact phenomenon. He found that people who regularly contemplate their own mortality make significantly better long-term decisions and procrastinate far less. It's not because they're afraid, it's because they're awake. The research confirms what Marcus discovered 1800 years ago. The awareness of death is the beginning of wisdom. Not wisdom about death, but wisdom about life. And here's what's fascinating. Ryan Holiday rediscovered this exact principle in The Daily Stoic. He writes about treating each day as if it might be your last, using what he calls the death clock technique. Holiday found that successful people intuitively understand this. Steve Jobs famously said, "Remembering that you are going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose." This isn't just ancient philosophy. It's backed by modern behavioral science. The two lives mental trick works because it collapses the psychological distance between present you and future you. Now for the 2-minute practice. Tonight, before you go to sleep, try Seneca's death review. But make it practical, not morbid. Ask yourself these 3 questions. First, if this had been my last day alive, what would I be proud of? Write down one specific thing you did well today. Second, what did I avoid or postpone that actually mattered? Be honest. Write it down. Third, if tomorrow were my final day, what's the one essential thing I'd make sure to do? This becomes tomorrow's priority. The goal isn't to become obsessed with dying. It's to become obsessed with living, really living. Not preparing to live, not planning to live, actually living. Marcus Aurelius died at 58, but he lived more fully in his final years than most people do in twice that time, because he understood the secret. You don't get 2 lives to figure things out. You get 1 life to live fully. Here's the principle in 1 line. Urgency isn't anxiety. It's clarity about what actually matters. Here's what to try. Tonight's 3-question review and tomorrow's 1 essential action. Now I'm curious, what's your bigger time waster? Planning to do important things or actually avoiding them? Drop your answer like this. My waste, planning, avoiding. One thing I'll do today. Bunk. If you want more ancient wisdom with modern application, subscribe. We post weekly.